Yo, what's up, Eric? What are you doing right now?
Oh, we're restocking our AOSs.
What's an AOS?
It's an air oil separator.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So what does it do exactly?
In the PCV system, which is positive crankcase ventilation, it actually separates out that oil vapor from the intake that comes from the engine to the actual intake, and we basically capture that in the unit itself.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty cool, but OEMs don't really seem to ship with these most of the time, so do I really even need it?
Need it and want it are two different things. Do you need it? No. Would you want it? Probably. It helps performance, keeps your engine clean. So let's go next door to discuss it. All right, so we're now at the Shelby GT350. This car did not come with one from the factory, an air oil separator or a catch can. However, it did have an aftermarket one, which was Ford Motorsports. So Ford Motorsports thinks that it's wise to have an air oil separator on their engines. However, most OEM cars do not. And my personal guess, because I can't speak for OEMs, I don't know for a fact, is it's probably cost. And at the end of the day, they don't really care if your engine performs at peak performance. They care about EPA regulations, they care about EPA laws, they care about fuel mileage, which the oil in the intake doesn't really hurt that significantly. Now what it does hurt is it lowers octane rating, and that's because oil actually detonates at a lower octane than 91 octane or 93 if you have access to 93. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to keep that oil and that oil vapor out of the intake system, out of the intake manifold, so that you get peak performance for a longer period of time. With the cars that are going to DI or direct injection, we are seeing an even worse buildup of carbon in the intake manifolds because there's no fuel to actually clean those intake ports. So a catch can or an air oil separator becomes even more important. We're gonna take apart our Shelby air oil separator today to show you what our units are doing and what goes on inside of our units.
All right, so that all makes sense, but what's the difference between an AOS and, say, a catch can?
So it comes back to semantics and what people kind of say for each thing. In the aftermarket, at times, they can be used interchangeably. I will go into like very specifics of how we would classify an AOS and a catch can a catch can. Sorry, these hoses are tight. So at the end of the day, an air oil separator typically routes back to the intake and the intake manifold, which ours generally do. And then to go even further, most of the time an air oil separator will actually drain back into the engine, which we do offer that ability most of the time. Some cars don't have that ability because we can't figure out exactly where to drain that oil back into. But that's the big differentiator for an air oil separator versus a catch can. Catch cans will vent to atmosphere. They do not always or typically go back into the intake system, and an air oil separator does. And there's benefits and drawbacks to both. At the end of the day, you're gonna have to make your decision on which one is better and more beneficial for your specific application. All right, so this is the inside of our air oil separator, or AOS. So what you see in front of you is a unit that's probably be ran on the car for about 500 miles. I don't know, we don't drive the Mustang that much, and most of them are track miles. I would say that this engine looks pretty darn healthy because we really don't have that much. As you can see, there is some oil buildup, not a ton though. So there is oil in here and it is condensing out of that PCV system, but I wouldn't say it's excessive either. So 500 miles, really not that bad for some track miles, and it's doing its job. So these are the 4 desiccant filters out of the Civic Type R, which has 40,000 miles on it, and I daily drive it, so it sees a lot more use. Probably 4,000 miles on that. Compare that to a brand new desiccant filter, And then there's obviously a lot more oil in that CTR, Air Oil Separator. And what we're doing right now and why we removed those from the car is we're actually testing different desiccant filters. We're constantly trying to improve our product and improve it to actually do a better job. So not saying our current design doesn't do a better job, but there's always new filter medias out there. There's new options. So we're just trying things out, seeing what happens. And we do that for basically all of our products quite continuously.
All right, so say I'm running a car with like, I don't know, like twin turbo or something, and the oil consumption is through the roof. Do I need to just keep topping off oil, or do I drain the AOS and pour it back into the oil pan? Or?
My suggestion would be draining back the Air Oil Separator. It makes it a little bit more of a complete kit. You don't have to service it. You don't have to worry about draining it every few 100 or 1,000 miles. What we generally recommend when you get an Air Oil Separator, and not just from us, from anyone, would be to check it probably every time you fill up on gas. See how much you're draining out, and then try and determine a service interval from there. If you get the drain back kit, you no longer have to worry about draining that Air Oil Separator. It's always going to be out of fluid, which is great because it just leaves the human element out of it. You don't have to service it. You don't have to mess with it. You set it, you forget it, enjoy your life, move on.
Hey, thank you so much for the clarification. That's awesome.
Yeah, no problem, man. If you guys have any suggestions on Ask an Engineer series, hit us in the comments below, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We appreciate it. We also have a wide breadth of things to talk about: machining, engineering, cars, whatever it is, just hit us up. I gotta get going though, because I gotta do a transpan for Fat House. Until next time, I'm out.